Have you checked out all the new handicappers at WagerTalk? If not, here's your chance. You can take 50% off your first daily or 3-day all access purchase at WagerTalk using coupon code TRYWT. Our new roster of experts is 30 deep, covering sports from all around the world, giving you tons of options to choose from. All you have to do to redeem this offer is go to wagertalk.com, choose a handicapper of your choice, and use coupon code TRYWT at checkout, saving 50% on your first purchase.
Happy Friday, everybody. Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. Hope you all recovered and enjoyed the action yesterday. I'm Andy Lang from WagerTalk.com. Thanks for joining us on Prop It Up. Joining me, as always, my fellow prop master, Andrew McGinnis from WagerTalk.com. Matt Josephs isn't with us today. He is with family, so shout out to Matt. I gotta say, Matt cashed his 5% college football play last week, as he was very, very confident in it. And Andrew, he's got another one up. He's getting
Awesome.
addicted now. He's
He's
winning
feeling it. I like it. He's feeling it.
Yes, winning is contagious. So he has a 5% college football play that is up right now. That is at sportsmemo.com. He is number one in college football at Sports Memo. That's why we're promoting this and bringing this up. So our job is to make everyone money. So go grab that play. It's 5% Sports Memo. It's under Matt Joseph. So shout out to him. Andrew, I guess let's start off and recap the three games yesterday. Anything jump out to you or any big takeaways? What'd you think of the Thursday action?
I mean, well, Andy, I'll tell you what. I watched one of the TikToks that you did for Wager Talk, and you talked about Josh Allen, not running as much, right? Like with his injury and just looking a little bit like, less antsy to leave the pocket. And I think that's certainly something we should be looking at moving forward as well. I mean, it was definitely something that was very clear to me. It was a great handicap, good call by you there to look at some of the running. And, some of these teams are just different when even a small injury like that happens, because Josh Allen is good, but you realize he's good and has a great arm, but when he can't leave the pocket, it really exposes that he's only kind of a one-way player now. And that's one thing I noticed in that game, and I wonder what the rushing prop might have been for him yesterday. I kind of, during that game, I was like, man, I really wish I took the under in that one. But overall, I was only really involved from a prop perspective in the late game. Just one prop for me yesterday, Andy. As you know, I've been a little lower volume this year, and I had Mac Jones over on his completions. And look, I said it last week on the show when I covered the Patriots game, and I think we gave out some pretty good picks in that game. Look, he gets a lot of completions, not usually a lot of passing yards. Yesterday it was both, but I knew against the Vikings in a game where they'd had to put up some points that he would have to go over that number. So that's really all I really had for yesterday was the completions prop there for them. But I got to say, yesterday, it was a pretty interesting day. It was definitely a day of the dogs, as for the first two games, at least for the most part. That backdoor cover was hilarious as far as the Giants are concerned. But what about the whole Pollard and Zeke, back and forth combo? I think that was a big thing that we discussed last year on Prop It Up, and now leading into this year, I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on yesterday, because I was looking at some props for Pollard. Decided to stay off for clients, and there were some bad beats. I'm not sure if you're aware of the bad beats there on the rushing yards and stuff, but when he lost, I think it was 4 or 5 yards near the end of the game. But what's your take overall on Zeke and Pollard and that dual threat?
Well, my take is I lost a 3% play on that last
Oh,
carry.
you had it?
I had
Oh,
Pollard
no.
over. And
Wow. I feel like an asshole now. I'm just rubbing.
No.
I just
You
brought it
were
up.
absolutely right. I will tell you why that play had nothing to do with it or anything. As soon as he went over, I had a friend text me, "Okay, we cashed Pollard," and I was like, "Are you celebrating early? You never do that. He's over by 1
No.
yard." And then when he came into the game late, I automatically knew what was coming, and so that's why we lost. Is my friend
Yeah.
celebrated too early?
Man, Eddie, that's why reception props are awesome, because you can't lose a reception. You can't take a reception away. It's just there,
It's true.
But
It's so
yeah,
true.
those are rough. Those are rough with the running back ones.
Yeah,
Congrats to you though on your 5% winner, Andy.
Yeah, that was Jacoby Myers over receiving was a 5% play. Catches one long pass to start the game, and he gets hurt. He comes in and out of the game. He's under, even though if he would have been healthy, he would have cashed it by halftime, and then he cashes on the very last play of the game, which I cannot remember winning a 5% play in stranger fashion. It was exciting. It's the ebbs and flows of prop betting. It was an unbelievable moment, one that I will not forget that cash ever.
Look, Andy, cheering on Jacoby was pretty much the bright spot of my, visit to Gillette Stadium last Sunday. The tailgating was fun, but in a 3-3 football game for pretty much the entire game, all I was cheering for was Jacoby. I was like just narrowing in on him, get him the ball, get him the ball, get him the ball. And so he's a guy again. And you know what's funny is just like I mentioned on the show last week, his receptions prop went under again, Andy. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Some people are yards guys, some people are receptions guys, and he's just a receptions guy. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it was the Mac Jones completions. I was kicking myself the whole game because our 5% play was either going to be the Mac Jones completions or Jacoby Myers, and we ended up going with Jacoby Myers. So nice call on that one. The Pollard and Zeke game, these guys are going to rotate. You could tell the Giants made a concerted effort to go after Pollard. Like when Pollard was in the game, he was just getting gobbled up. It was like they kind of just said, "All right, we'll let Zeke beat us." I don't know if other teams are going to are going to do that as well, but the Bills and Lions. You actually you mentioned Josh Allen. Josh Allen ended up going over his total because he rushed a bunch at the end.
Okay.
There's something about this Buffalo team. They cannot get this balance between running and passing on this team. Last week they attacked more with the run, and they got the win, and then they come back, and what do they do this week against Detroit? They throw it 42 times and they only rush it 29 times, and they almost lose to the Lions. And I think they're gonna. This is their Achilles heel. I think is this the struggle between are like them not being able to run the ball, and I don't understand why they don't commit to it. Devin Singletary averaged over 5 yards a carry. They have some of the pieces, but for whatever reason, they just get caught in this thing where we got to throw. And listen, when you're throwing to Stephon Diggs and some of these others, I get it, but this balance is going to be a real problem for them. For Detroit,
they need to take some notes from Matt Patricia on how to coach a boring football game. I mean,
right?
They don't know how to do it. They got to just run the ball down teams' throats. Sometimes they can't be up 10 points and looking for these 60-yard tosses all the time. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I heard a fascinating stat on a podcast, and forgive me, I do not remember who said it, but I have to give them credit. When Amon-Ra St. Brown starts and finishes the game for the Detroit Lions, Jared Goff is the fifth highest, most efficient quarterback in the league. That's how good Amon-Ra St. Brown is. He affects Jared Goff in such a positive way that Jared Goff becomes an elite quarterback. And you look at it yesterday, 23 of 37, 240, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, 9 catches for 122 yards and a touchdown. I mean, if we're looking for a guy to bet on to the second half of the season, it's got to be this guy. So all right, guys, Andrew, let's get into breaking some games. Well, real quick, tell everyone what you got going on for this weekend, in particular today, because everyone that's watching live can take advantage of this huge hockey slate today, right?
Yeah, that's what's great about no games taking place yesterday. It's going to be a loaded slate for today, and like I keep making that cliche joke. Yesterday was just an average Thursday here in Canada, so I had some time while watching football to just go over the games and break down the NHL slate. So I've got a lot of strong opinions going into today's slate. Andy, really excited about it. A couple 4% plays, which is rare for me these days on one day. And 3 NFL plays going up after this show, including a 5% play as well. And of course, as you always know, the props as well, always included in those packages. So I can't wait for this weekend. Look, the weekends are always exciting. And I always come on here with you and say, look, this is going to be a big day. This is going to be a big day. the next 3 days are going to be huge. I'm more locked and loaded, I think, than I've been really able to talk about over the last few prop it up shows, especially over today's big NHL slate. Friday is usually a very quiet NHL slate. So between today, tomorrow, I am dabbling in the NBA props. I think I have told you that, Andy, but that's been really fun as well. And then look forward to getting back to the UFC grind as well. What about you?
No UFC this weekend, but there is PFL tonight, and I believe we are going to put up a PFL. This is a pretty bettable card. I normally don't bet on PFL and Bellator, but I believe we're going to have one play, a strong play that goes up tonight, and then yes, we'll have another 5% play going for this Sunday in the NFL. 12-3 run on these 5% plays, so they've just been absolute money. And then I have to point out how good we're doing in women's college basketball. We're 14-2-1 to start the women's college basketball season.
Love it.
Yeah, so when I tell people like, hey, what plays of mine should I follow right now? It's these big best bets in the NFL. It's the women's college basketball, and World Cup is doing pretty good as well. So those are the sports that are by far the most profitable, and we're running the best in right now. So
sometimes, Andy, it's funny. I find that like with our streaks, like looking at our streaks and how we're doing in certain sports, the time that I don't look to check the database to see like which sports are hot or which particular thing is going well, I'll be just like delightfully surprised. Yesterday I went into the database and saw I was on like an 8-2 NFL sides run. And I was like, oh, this is nice. And I was like, I didn't really know, but it's because I've literally been just releasing like 1 or 2 per week, right? If you're releasing higher volume, you're easily able to be like, okay, last week was good, this week is good, we're running hot. But so it's like an 8-2 NFL sides run for me going into Sunday, and this will only be my second 5% play of the season in NFL. So I've been pretty low volume with them.
Nice. Let's get into breaking down some plays, and then we'll have our prop it up best bet here at the end of the show. Andrew, I'll start with the Saints and the 49ers. We'll break down this one. They've just been getting lit up in the running game the last 3 weeks. The New Orleans Saints have been 184 yards rushing a game the last 3 games. San Francisco have allowed 58 yards rushing per game the last 3 games. So you have just a horrible rush defense against an elite rush defense. And when you're looking at these numbers, I think the path is pretty clear. Take Alvin Kamara under his rushing total. I don't see a way that the Saints are ahead in this game. And with this defense, I think it's going to be pretty easy for them to take away Kamara and possibly Olave. And then I think you're looking at McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell over his rushing totals. I see McCaffrey's rushing total is just below 60. I think that's a good one. I really would like to see an Elijah Mitchell prop. If it comes out, it's probably going to be closer to game time. I would like him because I think it's going to be a low number, and I think they'll utilize him, especially if they're ahead. And then the other thing I have to bring up, the Saints are absolutely fantastic against tight ends. They're 5th best in the NFL. They've only allowed 362 yards receiving this entire year to opposing tight ends. I bring this up because we hit a best bet on George Kittle last week, but it was because he had the best matchup possible. He was playing the worst team. Now he's playing one of the best teams. I think he goes under this week because we played him last week, despite the fact he had a few games of going under in a row. So they use Kittle when the opportunity presents itself. I don't think this is a game that they're going to need to use him. And with the Saints being so good, it wouldn't surprise me if Kittle helped block to clear out some big holes for McCaffrey and Mitchell. So tight ends are between 35 and 42 yards max against the Saints. Those are like the best games that you're seeing from tight ends against the Saints. As I played Kittle last week on the over, cashed it. I think I would come back and play him under. You have to look at these matchups against these positional, tight ends and wide receivers and running backs. So overall, I think you're looking at a really, really successful running game for San Francisco, a struggling running game for New Orleans. And then George Kittle coming off the big game, it's a good spot to come back on the under, as his value is probably a little bit overinflated. So that's what I have for the Saints 49ers. Andrew, which game are you going to talk about first?
Let's start with the Green Bay game. The game that I've been asked about pretty much all week long, and it's it's funny because a lot of people that ask me this obviously know that I'm a fan of the team, but I haven't really been hiding my disappointment with them all year long, to say the least, Andy. That's for sure. But you're able to. The best part about it is if your team wins, they lose, doesn't really matter. You're able to find some props and you're able to find some ways to make money with them. And look, there's been the Watson game, there's been the Tanyan game, there's been the Alan Lazard game, and for this Packers team, they're obviously going to have